Hi, everyone. It's Jessica Drummond here from the Integrative Women's Health Institute, and I am excited to join you today with Women's Health Coach Certification grad Heba Shaheed, and she's joining us from Australia, Sydney, right? Here
Yes.
from the Integrative Women's Health Institute, and I am excited to join you today with Women's Health Coach Certification. Okay, ignore that. We're learning the technology. So Heba is here to share with us her new program, Mother Nurture. And Heba came to our program at the Integrative Women's Health Institute. She joined our Women's Health Coach certification about 2 years ago now, right?
Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. I think it's been longer than that. I think I was in the first intake that you had. So it's been a few years.
Yeah, so it's probably like 2014. So
Yeah.
and also she is a pelvic expert physical therapist, and her business is the Pelvic Expert Online, which is really important because, a lot of our students are really stressed about combining all of these different trainings and tools and degrees that we have, but really it all comes together in the right way at the right time. And for you, you've just had a new baby yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a little girl. She's 8 months old now. Her name is Rakaya.
Oh, beautiful. So I think it's important to know that you can bring everything with you that you've experienced in the past, all of your clinical experience, all of your personal experience, all of your different degrees and certifications, and now take women's health coaching global, which is what you've really done. You've moved, you're not just working in your office in Sydney with patients one-on-one anymore. Now you've created this beautiful online program that can reach thousands of women. And there are so many women who are struggling with diastasis recti, that weakening of the abdominal muscles, pelvic floor prolapse, pelvic floor dysfunction of many kinds, incontinence, all of these challenges that women have postpartum. And so, you've clearly been developing this program for a little time because it's very well done. So you probably started it before you had your own baby. So is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, firstly, thanks for having me on today. But yeah, I kind of created this program like last year while I was still pregnant. Actually, I think I had just fallen pregnant. So it's kind of been like this amazing journey that's taken place while I was pregnant, and then through my birth, and now after I've given birth. And so I've kind of tweaked it along the way, and I kind of did like a soft little launch initially, but now I'm kind of, really refined it. And it is about that holistic approach. So what I really love about, being a part of the Integrative Women's Health Institute is learning all of that information around nutrition and coaching, so that I can put that in within my program, so that I'm able to create like a truly holistic and well-rounded sort of approach for women. So yeah, it's amazing to bring all those skills. So the nutrition and coaching part that I've learned with Integrative Women's Health Institute, and then of course my women's health physiotherapy, or physical therapy as you call it in the States.
Yes.
That background, putting it together into a nice, beautiful sort of, experience, not really a program, but an experience, that a recovery experience that combines, nutrition, coaching, exercise, and all of that pelvic health advice that we really wish we could give to women more so than we have already.
Yeah. And talk about that a little bit. What inspired you to create this program? Because clearly women aren't getting everything they need postpartum in general around, how to recover.
Yeah. So for me, like, I have worked in a private practice in Sydney for 7 years, and I was working on a one-to-one sort of model. And the women who would come to see me would say that the experience that they had with me was very different to another type of physio or another type of health professional. And I guess it is that coaching aspect. So, going through Integrative Women's Health Institute, learning all about that coaching and then applying that. So I wanted to be able to provide that same experience on a wider scale. And my vision is a global vision. So I actually want to, revolutionize women's health on a global level. And, I love working one-to-one. I loved it. Like, I love that intimate sort of experience that you have with women. But, and honestly, like, I would still do it if I could. But I really want to make that positive sort of worldwide impact and just raise awareness about women's health issues, and that they don't have to live with them, because it's so often it's normalized, isn't it? So trying to shift away from that normal and more to common, and you can fix it. And here's how you can do it. And you can go through this lovely 12-week experience where you get that holistic approach and, come out of it like totally new, empowered, educated, and stronger.
I love that you call it a recovery experience, because I think, the first 12 weeks postpartum, women are in such a fog. They're not feeling so great sometimes. You have the sleep deprivation, you have the physical recovery, whether you have a C-section or a vaginal delivery. Many, many women experience physical and emotional birth traumas. And so to kind of wrap women in a complete holistic experience, are you finding that it's really nourishing for them to have the community of the online program? Because it's not always easy to get out of the house when you have a 6-week-old baby.
Absolutely. So having that community is so important, because you've got women who have, they might just have given birth. Some women are still pregnant. And then you've got women who've given birth a long time ago. So our program doesn't discriminate in terms of how long ago you've given birth. So you might have given birth 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. But you've got that experience of everybody, and women who've all gone through this similar sort of thing. So everyone has had, not everyone, but most people have had prolapse and incontinence. A lot of people have had abdominal separation. A lot of people have back pain and still have back pain. So, learning from them and that motivation. So like we have every Thursday, we have like a little coaching call / live that we do in our group, and just hearing from the other mums, I can't believe that in 6 weeks, I could never even feel my pelvic floor. And now I can coordinate. I don't even have to think about it. Like, to see that change and to know that it's coming for them. So, hearing those stories from other women, it's kind of motivational and inspiring for them. And also a lot of women, like, the thing about women, especially A-type women, which tend to do these sort of things, is that we don't really give attention to self-care. We don't talk about, we don't think about how we need to look after ourselves and, asking for help or learning to say no to things that you don't need to do. So we kind of integrate that within the program, a bit of self-care advice on a weekly basis. And a lot of women initially, when they come into the program, they're like, I'm not really interested in this. But then by the time they're in week 8 to week 12, they're kind of like, this has been the best part of the program, because I can't believe how much burden I was putting on myself. So that experience as well, and talking about it with each other in the community, and, that they kind of feel encouraged that it is actually something valuable for me.
Yeah. And, there's that need to give and receive permission to say no and know when to say no, and even just bring awareness that you might need to do it. I mean, a lot of my coaching clients, don't even recognize how busy and full and their lives are in a sort of unintentional way, until there's just awareness brought to that. And then they recognize, oh, wait, I have the choice here to say no to some of these things, so I can create space for that self-care that you're teaching. So when you talk about, the specifics of that experience, what are some of the things that women learn in your program?
So the program is we structured it as a 12-week program. However, we do give them permission to take longer, because it might take 24 weeks or it might take 6 months, depending on how busy you are. But we do say, try to get through it in the 12 weeks, and we give them a lot of encouragement in the 12 weeks to get it done. And then within the program, we've created it as 6 steps. So step 1 is about healthy habits. So we talk about self-care habits there. And then healthy pelvic habits, so healthy bladder habits, healthy bowel habits, healthy vulva habits, sleep habits, just that whole well-rounded around all the habits everything that you do in the day, and how to do it in a healthy way that doesn't sort of, affect you in a negative way. And then step 2 is around posture. So we talk about alignment and, for example, if you're breastfeeding, or if you're, maybe you're already well past the children being toddlers, and you're just really bad posture when you're sitting at your desk at work or wherever it might be. We talk about how to get into good alignment in a way that will help to minimize maybe their back pain, and just encourage them to have that good alignment so that they just feel more energized and healthy. And then in step 3, we have, we call it master your core canister. So trying to get the core muscles stronger. So we focus on just really getting that brain connection to those muscles. So we talk about the breathing diaphragm. We talk about the pelvic floor. We talk about the deep tummy muscles, transverse abdominis, and we talk about the deep back muscles. So trying to engage them separately and then putting them together. And so then that will lead on to the next step. So step 4, we talk about nutrition. So especially in the early postpartum period, a lot of the foods that women need to have to nourish. But then beyond that postpartum period, what do you need to eat? Like, a lot of mums are stressed out. So how do we keep that cortisol in check? How do we, make sure that our hormones are all in balance? So a lot of really nourishing recipes for hormonal balancing. And then, of course, step 5 and step 6, that's when we really get into the functional sort of exercise. So we call it dynamic mechanics. So working your pelvic floor and your core muscles and your breathing muscles in movement. So we do lower body exercise, upper body exercise, and then a combined upper and lower body exercise. Because I believe that your body, nothing works in isolation. You need to make sure that your whole body is it's intricate, that synergistic, everything's moving well, and that your core is moving well. And then the last step is more like stretches, so relaxation, down training, and lengthening type exercises. So it's kind of a nice, well-rounded sort of program.
That sounds lovely. And you said a few things, that I think are really important to zone in on. A couple weeks ago, when I was actually in Australia, sadly we missed each other. We were, hours away, but Alex Lopes, who's a physical therapist who was speaking there, was talking about diastasis recti. So that's, when the abdominal muscles separate and there's a loosening of the tissue in between, and sometimes there can be hernias and just laxity of that canister. And there's a lot of ways to strengthen that, both functionally and more specifically. But, what was interesting to me is it's not so much that lifting weights or, targeted exercises are risk factors for diastasis while you're pregnant, but actually lifting your toddler from your previous pregnancy, right? Your earlier children. And so I love that you have women in the program who are in, having their second, third, fourth children. They've already had children 20 years ago, because these things are still issues way past that 12 weeks, and certainly continue into the next pregnancy. I mean, today I was doing a functional training workout, and my partner, we both have a mild hernia in diastasis recti. Nothing to do about it. I don't intend to have surgery. I just have to be really mindful of how I strengthen that area. And she was the same way. And we both had our kids ages ago. My youngest is 7, but just having that knowledge is really empowering, because you can still exercise at a pretty high level. You can still lift your younger kids, but you're really significantly decreasing your risk for making those problems worse, right?
That's right. Yeah. And it's interesting, because the research actually shows that beyond that 6 months and that 12 months, 2/3 of women will still have If they haven't fixed it, they will still have it. And then they'll also have other things like back pain, and some people have other things like incontinence and prolapse. So it's the I really like to stress that everything's related. A lot of women think, oh, I've got 4 different problems. I've got abdominal separation, I've got prolapse, I've got incontinence, I've got back pain. So I've got all these different problems, but really it's you have one problem. It's that your body is not working in synergy together. Where if you just bring everything together and get everything working again, because like our body is a unit. It's not nothing is segmented and separate like we used to think in the old type of medicine.
Yeah.
Everything works in synergy together. So like if if you have an abdominal separation, that could be the cause of your back pain, or that could be the cause of your prolapse or your incontinence. And sometimes just working on strengthening that abdominal separation or diastasis recti is going to fix the other things. And so that's what I tell the mums in the group is, don't get worried that you have so many problems. It's one sort of approach. Strengthen everything, eat well, don't eat things that make you bloated and, make you gassy and all this sort of stuff. Eat well, move well, sleep well, and, things will improve. It's the whole lifestyle sort of change, isn't it?
Absolutely. And as you know, that's what we teach, right? You have to set that foundation. And I think as we apply it, I love what you've taken with this wisdom and applied it very specifically to this postpartum or postnatal population, because there are nuances, depending on the population. But ultimately what happens is women get kind of stuck in a sort of over medicalized approach where it's like, we're treating your diastasis this way and you might need surgery for your incontinence, and maybe we better put you on bladder spasming medication, and they feel like they're broken when really they just need to establish, once they've had the baby, get back to that foundation of health. And I think you're doing it so beautifully because you've created this container that welcomes women from all stages of perinatal, to years after, which we still need for sure. And thinking about this as a recovery experience, but also as a connection experience in a very holistic way. And I'm sure the women in your program feel very motivated to see how the other women are responding. Do you have any good stories about that?
I do have a few good stories actually. One of the things that we're doing at the moment is I just set up like a nice group coaching sort of thing just to see if it helps motivate the women, and it does definitely. Mm-hmm. And you can see the difference, like the women who they're really motivated. They've come onto every call. So I kind of organize that as a 12-week sort of call once a week, and like a lot of the women when they see those positive experiences. So for example, some women, they had just given birth, and so one woman, she had just given birth and she wanted to get back to running. Mm-hmm. And she was really scared. She was really scared to go back to running. And, she'd been told, obviously, don't run and things like that. So there is a bit of that language that we have where we kind of almost demotivate or instill fear in women to not do certain things. And I'm different in that approach, in that I say, what do you want to do? Let's get you back there. It might not be today, but let's get you there. And I feel like I'm like a middle person. Like they do my program as like a step to the life that they want. Yeah. And so, this lady, she'd given birth, and she hadn't, she was really scared about her pelvic floor. And now, so in our last call was week 9 weeks later, she's like, I went for a run and I didn't feel afraid, and it was amazing. And I felt so good. And, emotionally, I felt better. Physically, I felt stronger. And I felt the most important thing was that fear. Like my motto is, I'm going to empower you to live a life that's fearless, live life fearlessly. So to just take away that fear that they have, that they're going to, I thought I was going to fall apart, or that my organs were going to fall out or something like that. Just that changed their mindset so that they're looking forwards to doing that, but they've built themselves a strong foundation to get there. And so she went back to running, and she felt so confident after that. She was like on cloud 9. She was so happy that she was able to go for that run and not have any pelvic floor symptoms at all. and that fearlessness. I just love that.
Well, and I think that fearlessness is so important, because let's say even if she had had a little bit of leaking or she felt a little sore afterwards, then she would just say, okay, maybe I wasn't quite ready for that level of intensity, but now I have Heba and her program and these exercises to go back to. And it's not an all or nothing. It's not like, oh my gosh, I didn't go perfectly the first time, now I can't do it. She has a place to go back to make sure that she's fine. And a lot of times they won't need it, but if they do, there's not like, oh my gosh, it didn't work, so just stop. And so often that happens. Yeah.
That's it. And that's the thing, is that she also knows that she needed to start slowly. And that's what I constantly teach is, start gently, a little bit, like slowly but steadily, and then you'll get to that goal. So she didn't go for like a 5K run, she did a gentle little jog, and she liked it, she enjoyed it. And then the next few days she did a bit more. And that's the whole purpose. Like we kind of, we're doing coaching in there for things that they don't even realize that they've learned, like, to gently pace up to get to their goals. And then there was this other lady, and her story was really interesting. She was actually a personal trainer for years, and she'd had her kids ages ago. And she'd been teaching postnatal women exercise. And she was saying, but me, myself, I couldn't even activate my pelvic floor. Mm. And she goes, and she's older now, so she's in her 40s. And she's like, for so long, whenever I would sit on the toilet, I would try to squeeze my muscles and I just feel nothing. I couldn't do it. Mm. And then at week 7, she's like, oh my God, I had a breakthrough. For the first time in my life ever, I sat on the toilet and I just wanted to see if I could do it. And I squeezed, and oh my God, I could hold them. I could control them. And I let go, and I did it again just to make sure I could do it. And she was so like over the moon about that, because she's a personal trainer. So you'd think that she'd be in tune with those muscles, but we can't have that judgment about anybody, really. And a lot of physios really don't have good pelvic floor control either.
Right, absolutely.
But yeah, that was a really nice story, and it was really nice for everyone who was on the call as well, because they were kind of like, those exercises that you're giving in the beginning, they're really simple, and I was trying to get it across that, look, they're foundational exercises. Once you do them, trust me, trust the process, because once you get to week 8, 9, everything just starts. You'll see all these breakthroughs, and you'll just feel amazing. So yeah.
That's so exciting. And, this is so exciting for me, because to see one of our students take this work and just apply it so exquisitely, this is it's really exciting to me. I feel like I'm reaching all these women through you, and you're right, because it doesn't matter what your profession is. I mean, you might be a physiotherapist, you might be a gynecologist, you might be a perinatal fitness trainer, and sometimes we need to stop and turn the mirror on ourselves and just give ourselves permission to go back and, give ourselves that recovery. So I encourage anyone in our programs, anyone who's following us, even if you're a professional, I think it's a great thing to do, to stop and invest in your own self-care, because as you say, sometimes we just need we need to take some of our own medicine, and I think it's a supportive place to do that. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add about the program or your work, or?
I think I've gone through most of it, but I did actually want to thank you, because you actually are one of my inspirations. So I have a couple of people that I feel like are my inspirations and my mentors, and you are one of them, because if I hadn't seen your program is actually what changed my life for my own self. Like, I had a lot of nutritional issues before. It changed my life. And then actually seeing you and what you're doing online inspired me to take my business online. I think if I hadn't met you, I might not have even considered it. So whatever I do, whatever accomplishment I have, I owe part of that to you as well. So I just wanted to say that.
And you have absolutely taken it and done an amazing job with it on your own, and you're spreading it and creating your own new stuff. But I very much appreciate that. I mean, it's really exciting for me to see this, because it's a beautiful program. You've done a great job, and you're now reaching thousands of women in a very underserved population. I mean, I've been working with postpartum women one-on-one in exercise programs for probably almost 20 years now. And we're still not reaching them as widely as we need to. So this work is important, it's essential, and I thank you so much for getting out there and doing it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jessica. It was really a pleasure.
Oh, thanks so much for coming. And if you have any questions, we will be following the comments below. So jot them down, type in the chat, type in the comments below, and Heba and I will be responding to you and checking in. And if you want to learn more about her program, I'll post the links in the comments below as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Heba. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jessica. And thanks for being on the live, everyone.
Yes, have a wonderful evening, morning, wherever you are. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.